The following podcast is a Next Level production.
My little soul. I haven't seen your face yet, but my love for you is already limitless. You aren't just my child. You're the future.
What's happening to me? My baby.
Zarah, honey, listen to me.
As you grow up, you'll hear many stories about your mother.
Heart. Push!
How aboard Big Alice, she assured her survival yet again. And of your father, changing what was left of the world.
Hey panelers, welcome back to the show. I'm Steve.
And I'm Daphne.
And this is going to be a spoilerful podcast about Snowpiercer Season 3, Episode 5. Daphne, why don't you give us our title and synopsis?
So the title for this episode is A New Life. And the synopsis goes like this. A series of terrorist attacks threatens to derail Layton and Zarah's big day.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Yes.
Terrorist acts, okay.
Okay, yeah.
There is that one line from LJ where she says it's vandalism when we do it, it's terrorist act when it's your baby's name tree or something like that. So, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. Can you believe that we're halfway through the season?
I know. It's crazy. Laura and I have 3 episodes left of The Witcher, and now you and I have 5 episodes left of this. So yeah, it's coming up quick, but it's exciting. This is a good I know you kind of indicated that you felt this wasn't as strong of an episode, and I think I can totally agree with you. I think there's a lot of things in this episode that are setting up for the rest of the season. So it's a kind of a typical episode 5. It kind of ends on a cliffhanger, sort of. I
think you're right. I think it's a setting the table episode, and while in the first few episodes, we got a lot of excitement and craziness happening. This episode was a little more subdued in a lot of ways, but also there were some things that happened. I don't think it's my favorite episode of the season, but I do think that it does push things forward, like you said.
Yeah, I watched this one 3 times this time before recording, so I kind of It holds maybe a little bit of a better place in my heart. Till really shines in this one, and I've got some of that in my notes, in my opinion. Anyway,
she does. I think you're right. I think you're definitely right. Yeah, I wasn't super stoked after my first watch, but in my second watch, there were a few more things that I picked up that made me feel a little bit better about it. I guess I just really love episodes that are more action-packed. And we didn't get that in this episode. It was much more, like I said, subdued to me. Now, our listeners may not agree with me, and that's totally fine.
Absolutely. I would totally love to hear some feedback from our listeners. But with that, let's go ahead and get into our top 5.
Perfect. Okay, last names. Up. Get them up on the tree. Okay, thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Miss Gillies? Cargo. That's a beautiful name, Chandra. You can put it on the tree.
Okay, well, I will kick that off with something I'd like to call traditions.
I have this in my notes, or I have some of this in my notes, maybe. So we'll see.
Yeah. So we learned a little bit about the traditions with the tailies and third class when we attend a tree ceremony where people take names of people that were special to them and put them on the tree in hopes that Zarah and Layton will pick the name that they've put on the tree. And that, we find out, is a third-class tradition, which was kind of cool. And then we find out that the Tailies do something a little bit different, where they just name a baby after the nearest city, which is how we find out Winnie was named Winnipeg.
Okay, now that makes sense to me. I was so confused every time I watched this because I thought they said that the tree was a third-class tradition, and they said that the naming for the nearest city was a third-class tradition.
No, it was a Taily tradition.
Okay, now that conversation makes a lot more sense to me now than it did, because that was my one big thing in the episode. I was going, wait a minute, how can you have two traditions for naming babies in this thing? Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, and they didn't leave the kids out. Kids got to put names on the tree as well. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting because some of the names that they came up with were Cargill, Guy, and I remember the teacher was sending one little boy up that had put Cargill on his little leaf, and I think his name was Chunder. And I'm thinking, wow, they really have lots of interesting names on Snowpiercer. Suddenly, some of them don't seem so unique, I think, as some of the ones that we had. And even Till brings a leaf to the tree and asks them what they think of the name Alyssa, which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
So, I kind of wanted to showcase a little bit of, those traditions that we haven't heard a lot about or seen. And I'm guessing that Winnipeg was the last Taily baby to be born.
I'm assuming that other kid, what happened to the little kid who went to be trained as an engineer?
Miles? We haven't seen him, right. But I think he was older than her.
Yes, I think, okay, you're right. I think he was a little bit older. But that's the other kid that I was trying to remember who and what happened to him. And the last time we saw him, he was in the school car or whatever.
Yes, because he got handpicked to go to school because he was so bright. They wanted to train him to be an engineer. Right.
Okay. So we haven't seen him yet. So we don't. There's another character that we've been talking about that we don't know.
I know
what happened to.
The list keeps growing.
So my first one is, I'm calling it the hookups, but it's not just the hookups. It's the bonding moments that we have. We have been definitely hooking up with Josie, which I thought was kind of interesting that they're bonding basically over, both of them apparently have lost their soulmate. She feels that she's lost Layton because Zarah's had this baby. He feels that he's lost Melanie because they're assuming that she's dead or they don't know. So I thought that their hookup was really kind of cool. We see Pike kind of try to hook up with Ruth, but it's unsuccessful. He basically says, this is your last chance. And she's like, well, then I guess that's all there is. But there's still something going on there. I've got some more about Ruth later on. And then we see Javi and Sykes bonding over both having been attacked by Jupiter. Yeah. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that she had been attacked by Jupiter as well, because I was trying to think, why would Ben pick her? Because she knew Wilfred so well. And then it just hit me that, oh my gosh, the scar on her face was caused by Jupiter. Maybe this is the way to break through to Javi. I'm hoping so. I think we're going to get it. We're going to get that chance now that he realizes he has someone. They have this shared kind of trauma together, and she reaches out to him. I thought it was a really just a beautiful moment between the two characters. We have Miss Audrey unsuccessfully trying to not really hook up, but definitely get to see Mr. Wilfred again, and Alex is not having it at all. No, you cannot go see. No. She put the foot down, both feet down on that one. I thought that was great. Yeah. So that's what I had for the hookups. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Let me see. But part of me does still think that Ben is holding out a little bit of hope that Melanie might be alive. Well, I think Ben and Josie are in very similar positions.
they feel like they have lost. And this is also a very traumatic and tumultuous time. No next day is a guarantee, especially because they are protected by steel that blocks out the cold that could kill them. And so you have to take every moment that you can to connect. And I think they needed to connect in some way. They were bonding over their mutual lack of their loved ones. And I think it's bound to happen in situations like this because they were, they're kind of clinging to each other because they can't go to the people they want to be with, and they need to feel some sort of comfort.
For sure. So what's your next one?
So my next one actually is Ben getting Sykes to help Javi. Because again, I didn't put the pieces together until they were actually talking about Jupiter attacking them. And you know that Javi doesn't like the idea of not being able to drive the train, doesn't like the idea of Ben not trusting him.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of claps back at him about it, saying, well, you don't trust me to drive the train. And, Ben really pushes the issue of moving forward outside of the train, and that he really trusts Javi and Sykes to be able to check and troubleshoot and spec everything in the AgSec section, because it's very important that it be operational. They need these tools to be able to do, to start their new life in New Eden, which, again, none of us really knows what they're going to find when they get there. And, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I really liked this. This was a good way for him to basically get it. And I agree with you that definitely Ben doesn't trust Javi to drive the train. And that's obvious here. But what he's saying is he's giving him this opening. He's saying, look, I'm going to trust you in this little thing that I know you can do, and I know she can do and help you with. And then also, I'm sure in the back of his mind, he's like, she was attacked by Jupiter, even though that's something that hadn't happened on the show. Even she says she doesn't remember what she did to have Jupiter attack her. So it's that opportunity for Javi to show Ben that he can get past this, or at least maybe not get past it, but at least be able to deal with it.
Yeah, to be able to cope. And she notices when they're doing the inventory, and he kind of is, shaking a little bit. And she is like, we'll take a break. And then she talks to him about the dog attack. And she talks about when it was happening to her, she doesn't even remember what she did to piss Wilfred off.
Mm-hmm.
All she remembers is that she could think at the time it wasn't the dog's fault.
I liked that.
That it was happening.
I liked that she's telling Javi how she was able to cope with it. I didn't blame the dog. I blamed the trainer. I blamed Wilfred. Yeah. So I like that for sure.
I think it also gives us a little window into understanding why Sykes would flip to another side. Because she had 6 months with Layton and Ben and everyone, and learning, hey, Layton's not everything that Wilfred said he was. Layton and his group are actually trying to do things to better the lives of everyone, not, being a tyrannical dictator.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what she was getting with Wilfred. And I think she bonded with them throughout that process, and it made it easier. And now knowing this, man, I think it makes perfect sense why she would flip to the other side.
Let's see. So my next one is Layton and Till. Or Layton, I kind of found it interesting the third time I watched it, Layton kind of going back and forth, or maybe not really. He didn't really go back and forth all that much, because Zarah basically kicks him out of the infirmary and tells him to go help Till, even though Till said she didn't need his help. But I really liked, because I think I had forgotten that Till was a rookie cop when this all happened. So she had been on the force for, I don't remember if she said how long, but definitely long enough to have picked up some skills. She graduated the academy, so she knows what she's doing as a policeman. But not only that, or a police officer, but not only that, she has these special experiences that she's now able to use in her role as trained detective, even she's not being called trained detective anymore. And I just love that we got the return of the Till and Layton kind of partnership that we haven't seen. Because, he was really mentoring her in that first season to be the next trained detective. And then, so I just absolutely loved it. The whole thing, the interview style that she has, and the whole thing about when LJ flicks her on the chin and she almost like strikes out, and then Layton pulls her back. But then Layton's the one who's like, you should have hit her,
Yeah.
And so, I just really liked. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just really liked the fact that we got that. We haven't had that in a whole season. We haven't gotten to see the Layton Till partnership that we saw in that first season that I thought was so good and really was a cool relationship that we got to see.
Yeah, it was interesting she had that little altercation with LJ, because remember in the first season, what Till and Layton were investigating was basically the death of Sean Wise, who we end up finding out was murdered by LJ and her little boyfriend, henchman, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing I had about that before I forget, that I love the line from Till. It's a quote, but I just love that when they're kind of going back and forth about whether the fires were meant against Layton or they were for something else. And she says, some people just like to watch things burn.
Yep.
And that's so true. If you've ever watched, from movies and television shows of firebugs, that's what it is they just like to watch things burn. And so, but I definitely think it's definitely Layton, because now we know, because the last attack aimed directly at him. So
I think we have a good idea who did it too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disappointing. I'm disappointed a little bit.
And I've got some more later on that we'll talk about when we get to this. So,
okay. Well, my next point, I wanted to talk a little bit about Zarah, not necessarily the baby birth, but Zarah as a whole. And it kind of ties into something that Layton said a few episodes ago, where she took situations and tried to protect herself first. And he accused her of this, that she's self-serving. Meaning, well, you're very self-serving. You wanted to save yourself, so you agreed to let Dr. Hedwood play around with our baby. And so he was very angry when that happened. However, Zarah she kind of has a history of that now. Mm-hmm. If you think back to, she actually left the tail. She left the tail. She left Layton behind and went up to work in the rest of the train.
Right. She went to work in the night car for Miss Audrey.
Yeah. And left Layton. And so Layton and Josie became a couple during this time after Zarah had left. So, she does look out for herself first. She really does. And she went on to have a relationship with the guy that was actually murdered by LJ and Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about this, this episode made me really go back to reading some of my notes from earlier episodes and just looking at it and saying, well, Zarah does have a history of doing stuff like this. Although she did kind of change her tune at one point and yell out to Layton while she was delivering the baby. She said, I made a terrible mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And then Layton responded with, no, you didn't. You made a choice. You made a tough call in a world that wants to kill your daughter. it must feel often like life and death there, because you just really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you're close to death at any minute. All it will take is one tiny hole.
Mm-hmm.
And then life will be over. And so I want to like Zarah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I like her, sometimes I don't. I did think it was comical when when Winnie was running through the baby time. Okay, so she's running through, and they get there. Just before they get there, Layton is just being overbearing and protective, and Zarah says, "I'm having a baby, not a heart attack." And Layton says, "Yeah, I got the heart attack part covered."
I like that line.
And I loved seeing Winnie so excited. You can tell she's just like, oh my God, there's going to be another baby here. Someone younger than me on this train. Isn't that going to be amazing? And
yeah. And this was actually this Winnie, and I'll jump to it now just because we're talking about it, because it's short, because that was my number one, was just her excitement is just so infectious. And every time she, like you said, she's running through baby time, and she's her cute little voice, and she's so excited about it. And, everybody's like getting out of her way. And it was just so good. It was one of those refreshing is what I'm thinking that it gave me. It refreshed
joyous.
me.
It was joyous.
For all
we
that
don't
joy.
get a lot. We do not get a lot of that on Snowpiercer. We just don't. So it's always great to see that.
Very, very cool. Let's see. I had another one that we can talk about. We kind of started talking about the doctors and what's going on with the different patients. But so we have, Zarah asked for Dr. Hedwood to stay when Dr. Pelton shows up, and she tells Layton, FYI, Wilfer's starting to wake up. But I loved, and I've got the line in my quotes when we get to it, that Dr. Pelton says about what Dr. Hedwood was doing to this baby, because I love how she's seeing all the things, and she's recognizing all the things that Hedwood has done to this baby, and she's just like, this is crazy. And like when Zarah starts to lose, the temperature starts to go down, she starts to be cold. Both Hedwood and Pelton are like, well, or Dr. Hedwood says, this is what the other Dr. Hedwood said we should expect. And Pelton's like, we should expect this,
Yeah.
And that the baby's going to be cold. But it was great that at least there at the end, we got that little bit where the baby warmed up, apparently when it came out, Zarah warmed up. And it was just really cool to see that baby and mother were okay. And it's one of the rare deliveries that we see in movies and TV where we see all the muck on the baby there when they get that quick shot of her being delivered and clipping the what do they call that thing? The umbilical cord. Yeah. So it was really, really cool to see that. I love to see Wilford, Alex kind of taking care of Wilford, and then there at the end, and I didn't get, did you reckon, it looked like he was being brought back to that car where the cell was.
Yes, she put him in front of cartoons.
Yes. Okay. So she did put him in front of cartoons. I couldn't see if she put him in the cell or not, but but it's definitely that same.
Definitely that same car. It's kind of like the library car. Yeah. And her doing that while she's wheeling him, I don't know why, but it gave me these vibes from this movie called The Clockwork Orange. Mm-hmm. And the character, Alex, played by Malcolm McDowell, is wheeled into a room. And they hold his eyes open and make him watch all these things to cure him of his violent tendencies. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was really strange that she wheeled him in to look at cartoons.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know what what that represents, and it could be nothing.
Could be. We'll find out.
Yeah.
So I think I might have skipped over one of yours. It's, because I kind of merged my Winnie point into my doctor's point. So go ahead to your next one.
One thing I wanted to mention about Doc Pelton before we move on to my next point is I loved her line when she gets there And Dr. Hedwood is alluding to some of the things that she had done, and she actually says, "Oh, don't worry. I've got a pretty good inkling already," meaning, yeah, I've read the file. I know what you've been up to here in your crazy medical factory that you've created. So, yeah, so my next one is, I wanted to talk a little bit about Ruth.
Okay.
And about the fact, one, she looks incredible. She's all clean and she just looks like the old Ruth, but something a little like brighter and even better, like a version 2.0. Like she has even more confidence. And I loved that she, they're getting ready to ring bells every hour until the baby's born. And she just tells Tristan, hospitality is not going to tie itself in knots going by the book anymore. Let's use what we've learned these past 6 months. And I loved that because it shows that she's not all caught up in protocols and procedures now. She's looking at things with a different lens. And I appreciated that. And she had that interaction with Pike. And I wondered if it was necessarily about their relationship, or maybe it appeared like he gave her an ultimatum, like, I want you to take over the train or we can't be together. But I didn't really get that vibe. It was just, there were things that were not said, but maybe implied there. And as I said, I think last week, I really think Ruth sees all the good in him, but we forget the old Pike, because we've seen all of these great things that he's been doing. We forget some of the things. I mean, Pike was I believe he was involved with the cannibalism in the Tailies, with the Tailies. And Layton knows all of these things. And I think that might be one reason why he just can't fully embrace Layton as a leader, even though Layton has made it very clear that he wants Pike to be a part of things going forward. Layton is very open to things. Like, he seems very open to, well, even though he said, people don't necessarily change. Because I know when he was talking to Oz about the ethanol, Oz talks about changing, and Layton doesn't seem really big on thinking people can change. So that does make me wonder, is Pike right? That Layton may, at face value, want him to be a part of things, but he'll never forget the things that he had done as part of the tale. So I'm not really sure.
So Ruth was my next one as well, and just hospitality in general, because it was a little who's the guy? Who's the other guy?
That's Tristan.
Okay, Tristan. Okay, so Tristan, she does say that thing about we're not going to tie ourselves up in knots. We're going to be loose. But then they do the bells, on the hour, and it seemed like it was 5 or 6 hours. It seemed like a long time passed.
Yeah, it did.
It seemed like every 5 minutes we're getting bells ringing, and I don't know if it's supposed to be the same bell or a new bell or what, but I absolutely was just tickled when Wilford goes ding, ding, in his hospital bed. But
Sean Bean is great, even when he's just laying in a hospital bed in a partial coma. Yeah. Like, incoherent and kind of oblivious. He's still wonderful.
And you said there was a couple things about Ruth that seemed a little off, and you're right. For one thing, which I didn't notice until the third watch, her shirt is not buttoned to the throat like every other time we've seen her in her hospitality uniform. It's always buttoned all the way up. And this one, it was like,
yep.
I mean, you couldn't really see cleavage, but it was open. Like, it was pretty. So she's definitely loosening up those kind of protocols and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm a little unsure about, and I think this is where the show is kind of maybe misdirecting us or something, because, I mean, we're fairly sure that Pike is the one who detonated the explosion that almost killed Layton, because we see him with what looks like a detonator. He smashes it. He goes to the night car. or to the third class section where Miss Audrey is singing and he's kind of watching her. And I couldn't tell if maybe he was coming to report to Miss Audrey, like Audrey is the one he's getting orders from for these attacks on Layton, which would make sense.
Yeah.
But not for Pike to be doing it. But the other thing is there's an interaction that I caught. I was suspicious of it in the second episode. In the third episode, I definitely was even more suspicious of it. So Ruth comes into where Layton and Till are, and she says, Ben reports smoke in the ag section. Someone should go check it out. And so Layton goes to check it out. On his way there, he meets with a guy who says, I saw the smoke and I pulled the alarm. Right? And then immediately after that, it cuts to Ben and Josie in the engine reacting to the second fire. Mm-hmm. The fire that Layton puts out the one fire, and they're reacting to the second fire. And there's no mention of that smoke thing. And again, it's another one of those things that the show is doing things off screen that we don't actually know if Ben contacted Ruth about this smoke, or if Ruth was setting up Layton to go down there.
I don't think Ruth would be setting up Layton. I don't.
Okay.
I think that the smoke was from this fire, what I call the wastebasket fire, because we had the tree fire.
Right.
And then we had the wastebasket fire, which the guy said I alerted folks about this. And we see Pike there, clearly, like just outside the room.
Oh, yeah.
But when Pike goes and is just staring at Miss Audrey and he's got that detonator, he looks so uneasy and so, what have I done? Why did I do this? And I'm just not sure if he is taking orders from anyone or if he is trying to impress Ruth by... I don't know about impressing her, but I feel like he might be trying
to assassinate Layton just to put Ruth in to take the position of power.
Yeah. But I don't know that he wants to kill Layton. I think he wants to sideline him again. I'm not sure what he really wants, and I'm hoping that in the next episode we're going to find out what the heck is going on.
Yeah, I hope so, because we really haven't seen, at least in this season, we haven't seen that kind of agency out of Pike.
No.
We've seen more of him taking the orders from somebody and do, like the thing with the fireworks and the other stuff. Like we've seen him being the right-hand man, the second in command kind of thing. Not, like I said, not taking agency for himself. So it just was a weird interaction that we didn't hear Ben report to Ruth about the smoke. But I guess we can take it at face value that she did get a report from Ben that, hey, there's smoke in AgSec. Somebody should check it out. And that was the like you said, the wastebasket fire. So
that's a scary place to be setting a fire to.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It was a little almost, again, there's so many convenient things that happen in this story that they're able to get all of it under control, and they didn't lose any of the seed bank. Everything is fine. Like Ben says to Javi, all systems are online. Everything's good to go. And I'm like, that's really quick.
That's convenient. It is convenient because, again, though, it's a really stupid thing to set fire in the AgSec.
Yeah.
It doesn't... It's just not smart. I mean, and Pike is... Yeah, and Pike is smarter than that. Like, I don't know. I don't understand that. And maybe someone listening can point something out that we may have missed, because I'm just not sure. Again, it may just be the showrunners reminding us that Pike is not an angel, even though we may be looking at him in a different way. It's just reminding us how human he is, how human they all are. It's very different. I mean, they're in an extreme situation, and you just never know.
That makes sense. So are we at your number one? Or do you have one more?
I do.
Okay, because I am all out.
Okay, so let's talk about Alex and Wilford.
Okay.
Remember Melanie said to her 2 episodes ago, you need to face your fears? Well, this episode ended with a song called Love and Hate, and I felt after listening to it, I went on Spotify and listened to it again. It really represents Alex and her relationship with Wilford, because it is about there being a very thin line between love and hate, and she loves him and she hates him. Like, she does not like the things he has done. She hates everything that he has done, but she loves him because he raised her and took care of her. And I think it's very difficult for her to be in this situation, because at the one point she's keeping Audrey from getting into the room, but she's also kind of grumpy when Layton shows up. It's like, aren't you having a baby? Like, it's the way she said it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that quote actually when we get to quotes, but and there was that beginning with Wilford, his dream state that he was in, and it reminded me of a few things that have happened that were we aware that there was actual physical abuse to Alex from Wilford? Because it appeared
appeared like it.
In that flashback, it definitely appeared like there was some form of physical abuse that went on, not just the mental and other stuff that we saw. So I thought that was interesting that's their relationship is out of that. But yeah, it's for sure complicated between Alex and Wilford.
And Doc Pelton, recommended that she read to him that mental stimulation would be good. And she knows that him being a vegetable is not in the best interest of the train, because he does still have knowledge that would be useful in pushing the train forward. So she's trying to balance the fact that she hates him and she loves him at the same time. So instead, she reads Don Quixote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't catch, what did she say at the beginning, that he didn't like that story, or that it seemed like it was something like that she's reading that book because he didn't like it, or something to that effect was what it sounded like to me.
Well, maybe that would then stimulate the, mental stimulation of, oh, would you please stop with that book? Instead, he's hearing bells instead.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love when Layton does come into the room, though, and he says something like, I never wished the suspension on my worst enemy, but now I've kind of changed my mind on that.
Yeah.
Enjoy your death nap, or something like that.
Yeah.
As he leaves. But it's definitely it's going to be interesting to see, now that he's out of the hospital bed, how much interaction he has with Alice. Because it was one of those things that didn't occur to me until this third watch, that's why Ben is so frantic, is because he's not down just one engineer. He's basically down 2 engineers.
It's him.
He's all by himself. Yeah. So
it's a situation that nobody wants to be in. If anything happens to him, they've got Alex, and that's it. It's him and Alex. Javi, you can't completely count on right now. So he has to be very careful, but he's also been giving Josie some lessons in how to drive the train.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward how that affects the dynamic of the group. And that was another thing that was curious to me, is he finds her in Javi's bunk, and she says that she got used to sleeping close
near
to the
engine.
Yeah.
Yep, because of the whirring. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember when that was that she slept so close to the engine, because she was with the head. She
slept close to the engine because she was part of the group that was separated from everyone else. Okay. And was on Snowpiercer when they were out trying to figure out how to take the train back and verify data that Melanie had sent.
Okay, yeah. So on that bullet train, or what did Sykes call it? The the bullet train sweatshop or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it was so, okay. Yeah, you're right. So that would make sense that she got used to that noisy train because it was only 9 cars or whatever it was. But we did get another confirmation. This is the second time they've said 1,029 cars long so we're for sure that's where we're at right now. So
yes. For now.
Yeah, for now.
For now.
So is that all? Do you have any other notes?
I do, because there's a few things we didn't talk about. One, we have to talk about Josie and her visit to Dr. Hedwood and learning that her right leg is numb. And so she seems to be having some issues with feeling things and stuff spreading. And so Dr. Hedwood says that thermoreception is very complex. Her TRP channels are restricting cold stimulus, editing how she processes injurious stimuli, and it's possibly affecting other sensations. And she actually likens it to living on a street and your light goes out and the neighbor's light goes out as well because it's close by. Just like a connection that's not completely there but still effective.
Yeah, I had this in my notes in one of my points that I didn't bring up. I skipped over is the changing biochemistry and whether this is going to be something, because I think what Hedwood says is, because I think Josie says, is it spreading, and then is it getting more, and then Hedwood says, well, it could be just different, could be just changing spots kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward. And then of course when she stabs her leg in front of Ben,
goodness.
I know it was tough to watch, but on the third watch I noticed it looked like there might have been another scar where she's done that before. So she's been practicing this to see if she
She's probably just trying to check to make sure that she can still feel something.
And I can tell you, this is hard to live with. I had knee surgery. I had ACL reconstruction in 1993, and there's a small patch right next to my knee where it's basically dull. It's basically numb, like it's asleep. And I remember asking the doctor, is that something that's ever going to come back? And he says, probably not. He says, probably there were nerve endings that were clipped during one of those surgeries that I had, and they're just never going to be repaired. So I just live with this numbness, and it's not my whole leg like Josie's, because I don't know how you would live that way. It's just this small patch right next to my knee, but it's definitely a constant thing, and it's going to be there forever. So it's tough to live with that.
Yeah. And after that, she's talking to Ben, and he calls her a miracle. She's like, you're a miracle. And then he talks about his relationship where he was with someone for 15 years, and he stayed on the island even after she had gone. It was, a metaphor. And Josie kind of understands that. And that's when I realized, they're really starting to connect and cling to each other because there's no one else that's there.
Yeah.
We did get a little bit... We learned about Z and his speakeasy that goes on and his little alcohol process. Not realizing that some of it had been replaced with water. We talked about the fire in the ag sec, but what we didn't talk about is there was a bomb there as well. For the, we talked about the detonator, but it was actually, not just... It was a fire and then an explosion, which makes it even worse. Because they could have lost a lot there.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I'm curious to see, because Javi says there's a lot of that amyl nitrate missing. And that's like fertilizer bomb stuff, is what that's. And so maybe it was all used up in this bomb.
I don't know.
And
remember what Till said. One fire, it's a statement. We get another, it's a campaign. Then it's about shaking people's faith.
And so I'm concerned also whether all of the ethanol is gone as well. Because that was a lot of, she says there was not enough on those leaves to equal what was in those bottles that the guy showed him. I wonder if this bomb, it's just
more of it. Yeah, I'm concerned there's more out there somewhere. And, we don't know. Is something beyond Pike involved? Like, I don't know, and hopefully we'll find out soon. But one other thing that Till did, she had that great conversation with Audrey where she talked to her about all the help that she gave to people, that she was really a healer. And she helped a lot of people, and they're going to need that when they get off the train. And that, a little bit later, we get Audrey singing, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe that will bring her back. I miss the Audrey that we used to have, because she was my favorite character.
Yeah, she was a lot lighter, and she was, not as heavy and not as dark. And so hopefully this might be her trying to claw her way out of Wilford's control. Maybe having this time of separation from Wilford is going to help her to get back to being that better Audrey that we...
Well, I feel like she and Sykes and Javi can start a support group for each other for all the trauma that they've gone through with Wilford. Wilford's Anonymous, because I feel like they've been through a lot, and I think there are probably more people. Maybe Alex needs to be part of this as well. Because, yeah, it's just really sad. It's really sad. I did think it was funny that Oz and Lila were having a baby pool. People were betting on what name that Zarah was going to pick. And of course, she went with the name Liana. She would not let go of that leaf. She found that leaf. And Layton asked her, well, what does it mean? And she says it doesn't. She can put the meaning into it with her life. And I liked that as well. And I think that's all of my notes.
That's a good poll there about about that conversation, and then about the leaves, because I wonder if we're going to find out who put that leaf on there.
Yeah, I want to know now. Who did it?
And I was reminded again, I started thinking back on it again of LJ, whose last name is Folger. And I think we talked about this in the first season, that they must be some sort of kin to the Folgers coffee ground.
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I was always thinking.
I think we talked about that in the first season, but for some reason it came back to me today as I was watching it again, going, oh yeah, the Folgers coffee thing, because they were always drinking coffee in that first season. So, and that was one of their special requests or something. So makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go into some quotes.
Yeah. I've used all of mine in our discussion of the episode, I think. I'll double check, but I think I have used everything that I had.
While you're looking at, I will say a couple of mine. I alluded to it earlier. You talked about Dr. Pelton's quote when she comes in, but when we come back from commercial, she's saying unethical, unprofessional, dangerous, and downright screwy.
Yes, I love her. I don't feel like we've gotten her last name until this episode.
I'm not sure. I think you're right. I think she was just called the Doctor. I think Dr. Pelton. It didn't seem to me. And the only other one I've got is, again, you alluded to it when Layton comes into the room. Alex says, "Aren't you supposed to be panicking and making Zara's life worse?" He's like, "I will, and I have been, and I will again," or something like that is what he said. I didn't copy his response down, but so. Yeah. That's it for quotes.
Yeah, I have no quotes. We have already used all of mine in this conversation.
So, Daphne, do you have any podcast recommendations for this week?
I can only recommend that I've been listening to nothing because I have no time. No. I can recommend the Walking Dead cast because that's one podcast that I've been able to keep up with throughout everything. I know that Ben is doing a great job over at Wilhelm. And of course, my podcast co-host Paik and his co-host Rima covering You on Strange Indeed. It's a show I've not watched, so I'm not caught up. But I'm sure, like any other episode that they do on any of the series I've listened to, they're killing it over there. So those are the only ones that I can recommend.
And for me, it's been so busy for me doing 2 podcasts and everything else. But I have gone back to listening to the Welcome to Our Show, which is the New Girl rewatch show with Hannah Simone, Zoe Deschanel, and Lamorne Morris. So I highly recommend that. They're fun to listen to, and I hope they get Jake Johnson and Max Greenfield on there sometime. But who knows? They haven't teased having those guys on there. So, so we have come to the end, or towards the end of our time together tonight.
So while we don't have any feedback this week, you can submit feedback to us at any time. We can be heard on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or whatever podcast player of choice that you use. If ratings are available, give us a rating or review on one or all of those platforms.
You can check out our website, which is panels2pixelspodcast.com.
As I mentioned, you can submit your feedback by going to our Facebook group at facebook.com/panels2pixels.
We are on Twitter at panels2pixels. That's the word panels with the number 2 and then pixels at panels2pixels on Twitter.
You can email us at panels2pixels1@gmail.com. That's panels2pixels, the number 1@gmail.com.
You can also find us on YouTube. If you search Panels to Pixels Podcast, go on there, subscribe, and give us a thumbs up.
We are on Instagram as well, at Panels to Pixels Podcast, all spelled out.
Check out all the other podcasts on the Next Level Podcast Network. We highly recommend them, from Wilhelm, The Melting Pat, Podcast Zero, and so much more. You can go to nextlevelradioonline.com and you'll find all of them right there.
Coming up next week, we have episode 6 of season 3 called Born to Bleed. It makes me really nervous whenever I see a title for the show that says bleed in it, because I think of what Wilford has done to people in the past, like Kevin and Audrey, and it just scares me.
So what have you got coming up on Run for Your Lives?
Well, on Run for Your Lives, we are covering Tremors 4 this week, which means we're getting very close, or actually we are at the end of season 3. Our next episode after this one will be our Look Back special, which is one of my favorite episodes to record because we really get to discuss our favorites from the last 24 episodes.
Very nice, very nice. And Laura and I are continuing to cover The Witcher Season 2 right here on Panels to Pixels. We'll have episode 182 for you later this week.
Oh my goodness. So you're doing double duty this week.
Yeah, and we're getting close to 200. I know Mark's got something big planned for 200 that I'm excited for. I hope it happens. He's got. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to put it out there yet. But he's got some good ideas for our 200th episode.
That is awesome. I'm actually doing triple duty this week because I'm recording an episode with Wendy and Jason. We're actually going back on House Podcastica to talk about Yellow Jackets episodes 1 through 5 individually, because we did like a catch-up episodes 1 through 5 in one episode. But we've decided to take everything we're taking everything that we learned from everything that's happened this season and applying it to these first 5 episodes. So it's going to be full of spoilers, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun to go back and actually think about, okay, yeah, that happened. So how does that affect? How do all these things fit together? So I'm really excited.
I'm excited to hear it. So I may have to send some feedback next week. I don't think I can get in this week with what I've got going on, but yeah, I'm excited as well. Thank you all for listening. I'm Steve.
And I'm Daphne.
And this was Panels to Pixels, and we will see you on the next one. Good night.
Good night.